Okay. Good morning, everyone. It's so nice to see a few of you on here this morning. Let me just share my screen so we can get started. Okay, so hello and welcome to everyone joining us live and to those watching the recording. I am genuinely so excited and so grateful that you have chosen to spend this next hour with me. Today, we're going to explore something that I think almost every one of us experiences, but very few of us ever stop to question. So, can I ask you something? Have you ever received a compliment and immediately brushed it off? You've gone, "Oh, I'm just lucky." Have you ever finally taken a day off to spend the entire day to feel guilty because you thought you should be doing something productive? Have you ever achieved something that you've worked incredibly hard for, and instead of simply enjoying it, you found yourself explaining why you deserved it? It took me years. I've worked so hard. Oh, I sacrificed so much. Or perhaps you caught yourself thinking, this is going too well. I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop. If any of that sounds familiar, I want you to know that you're in exactly the right place because today's webinar isn't really about learning how to be happier. It's about understanding why happiness can sometimes feel so uncomfortable, why so many of us minimize our achievements and apologize for our success. We feel guilty when we rest. Or perhaps you wait for permission before allowing yourself to fully enjoy your life. And here's the thing, I don't believe that there's anything wrong with you. I just think that you've simply been following a set of invisible rules, most of which were never consciously chosen. So today we're going to shine a light on those rules. We're going to explore where they came from, why your brain and nervous system keep repeating them, and most importantly, how to begin replacing them with something far more freeing. Because my hope isn't that you leave today thinking differently. It's that you leave today giving yourself permission to experience life differently. So before we begin, just a few housekeeping items. So you're going to have a notepad and pen. I promise there's going to be moments where you're going to write some things down or want to take some photos of the slides, and that's absolutely fine. Have a glass of water nearby, make yourself comfortable. And if you're comfortable having your camera on, I'd love to see your faces. It makes these conversations more like conversations rather than a presentation. We're also going to do a short guided visualization. So if you can, find somewhere quiet where you can fully relax and immerse yourself. And finally, give yourself permission to fully be here. The emails can wait, the washing can wait, the notifications can wait. For the next hour, just choose you. Now, before we dive in, I just want to ask you two questions. The first one is, do you give yourself permission to be open, to be curious, to challenge some beliefs you may have and that you may have been carrying for years, and maybe also to have a little fun on the way? Yeah, perfect. And my second question is, do I have your permission to open a door of possibility for you at the end of our time together? Because if what we talked about today resonates, I'd love to show you what the next steps look like. Beautiful. Thank you so much. All right, I'm just going to quickly check this chat. No, that's fine, Prince. No worries at all. All righty. So, for those of you who haven't met me before, my name is Rhiannon. My background is quite diverse. It comes from film and TV primarily, and then I also worked alongside children for 10 years. I've studied mindset and identity work through the Proctor Gallagher Institute and facilitate transformational experiences and events for people. So, I created this webinar because, if I'm completely honest, I was someone who didn't always feel safe being happy. When life was going well, I didn't fully trust it. I was always waiting for something to go wrong. I'd achieved something I'd worked really hard for, and instead of simply enjoying it, I would move straight on to the next thing. It was kind of just like, oh, okay, well, that's done, and now this is now more important. I'd also found myself explaining why I deserve something, almost as if I needed permission to feel proud. So I started asking myself, why do I do this? And the more I researched psychology and neuroscience and the nervous system, the more I realized this wasn't just my experience. It's actually incredibly common. So today, I don't want to stand here and tell you to just think positively or just be grateful. I want to share some of the research and the psychology and the insights that completely change the way I understand joy. And I hope that they'll change the way you understand it too. Because I don't believe we're afraid of happiness. I think many of us are just afraid of trusting happiness. So, first, before we dive into the content, I'd just love for you to take a moment and ask yourself, why is it that you chose to say yes to being here today? And just pop that into the chat now. Why did you choose to say yes to being here today? Because I expect myself to do more in life than what I'm doing now. Oh, yes. Isn't that interesting? And we're definitely going to dive into this in just a moment, but it's amazing that we just don't think this is enough. Like, and where does that come from? Whose expectation is that? Thank you for sharing. To keep growing and exploring myself and wanting to 10x my life. Beautiful. I love that. So just fully open, fully ready to absorb the information, full of curiosity. That's great. Okay. So today we're going to explore why happiness can actually feel unsafe, the hidden beliefs keeping you stuck in survival mode, why you feel guilty resting, celebrating, or receiving, the science behind why we justify our joy, and how to finally embrace happiness without an apology. Does that all sound really good? Yeah, okay, let's go. So, how many times have you said, I'm just lucky? You've downplayed good news. You might have felt guilty relaxing, waited until everything was perfect before you enjoyed life, felt anxious or curious and doubtful after something amazing has happened. You're not alone. Most of us have. And so the truth is that most people don't struggle to find joy. They struggle to feel safe keeping it. So I want to spend a little time here because I genuinely think those two sentences change the way we look at ourselves. For years, I thought there was something wrong with me. I thought maybe I just wasn't very good at being happy. Maybe I was just naturally anxious. Maybe I was an overthinker. Maybe I was someone who always expected the worst. But then I started noticing a pattern. Whenever life was difficult, I knew exactly what to do. I could solve problems. I could keep going. I could push through. I could survive. I'm a survivor. But when life became peaceful, I didn't know what to do with myself. Has anyone else experienced that? Things are going really well. Your relationship is healthy. Work is going well. You finally got a weekend with nothing on. And instead of enjoying it, your brain starts asking questions. Should I be doing something? Am I forgetting something? This feels too good to be true. When is the next bad thing going to happen? What's interesting is that the problem isn't happiness. The problem is that happiness can feel unfamiliar. And our brains are wired to trust what is familiar. So even if what's familiar isn't actually good for us. So think about that for a moment. If you've spent years living in stress, then peace doesn't immediately feel peaceful. It feels strange. If you spent years trying to prove yourself, rest does not feel relaxing. It feels irresponsible. If you've spent years expecting disappointment, joy can actually feel suspicious. So maybe you don't have a happiness problem. Maybe you've just never been taught that it's safe to stay there. So, where does that begin? I don't think it starts in our adulthood. I think we have to go much further back. So, I want you to picture yourself as a child. Not because we're here to blame our parents, not because we're looking for someone to point the finger at, but because children are like sponges. They don't question the world, they absorb it. When we're little, we don't think, Well, my mum said, don't show off, but I disagree. We just don't have that level of reasoning. Instead, we think, okay, that's how the world works. Think about how children naturally behave. They dance in the supermarket. They laugh until their tummy hurts. They wear superhero costumes to the shops. They don't worry if someone thinks they're weird. They don't compare themselves. They don't think, oh, I probably shouldn't be this happy. It's a bit too much. And then slowly, the world starts teaching us rules. Maybe someone said, calm down. Don't be so loud. Don't get too excited. You need to be grateful. There's people worse off. Money doesn't grow on trees. Don't make a scene. None of those comments are necessarily abusive. Most of them came from people who loved us, parents who were stressed, teachers trying to manage a classroom, adults repeating what they'd been taught. But here's what children don't hear: they don't hear advice, they hear identity. They hear being excited isn't safe, being visible isn't safe, having too much isn't safe, expressing myself isn't safe. And those beliefs don't disappear when we become adults. They simply become quieter. They move underground. And then one day, you're 35 years old, feeling guilty for relaxing, without realizing the rule you're following was written when you were 6. So that's why awareness matters. Because you can't change a rule you don't know you're living by. Yeah, exactly. 100%. So I want you to have a look at this image for a second. What you see here isn't reality. It's a representation of something most of us carry without even realizing it. Invisible rules. Rules that aren't written down anywhere, rules that nobody reminds us of every morning when we wake up, yet they quietly shape what we think, the way we feel, and the way we make decisions, and even the amount of joy we allow ourselves to experience. Remember what we spoke about in the last slide. As children, we absorb messages, right? We don't hear things like, don't show off. When we hear things like, don't show off, be grateful, don't get too excited, money doesn't grow on trees, stop being dramatic. Most of those comments were never intended to hurt us. But children don't just hear words, children create meaning. So if a child is repeatedly told, don't show off, they don't just learn not to show off, they might learn it's safer to stay small. If they're constantly told, these people are worse off than you, they might grow into an adult who it struggles to enjoy anything because someone else always has it harder. I resonated with that one a lot. I struggled so much, especially early days of my personal development journey. You start to get more worldly and you go, well, how is it even okay for me to strive for this gratitude and joy when there's suffering? And at the end of the day, if I'm here wallowing in sadness because of what someone else is going through, is that actually helping them? Or can I help more people by feeling joy? Right? It's tapping into that frequency and the ripple effect that has. If you start to absorb negative emotion and sit in that, you're only going to attract more and express more outwardly around you. It's not actually helping people in the long run. And so these are the hidden rules. And over time, the messages become invisible. They're not conscious thoughts, they're just automatic beliefs. And some of these are things like, I must earn rest. I can't just sit down. I have to deserve it first. I must earn happiness. I'll be happy after the promotion, after I lose the weight, after I save enough money, after the kids are older. Success shouldn't be difficult, right? But sometimes we believe success should be difficult. If it came easily, surely I don't deserve it. Surely I should question it. Surely that's not real. That's not trustworthy. If I'm happy, I'm selfish. Who thinks that sometimes? That's like you're not thinking about other people. And so you put everyone else's needs first because somewhere you learned happiness should come last, yours particularly. And if people see me succeeding, they'll judge me. So instead of celebrating yourself, you explain it, you minimize it, You apologize for it. You shrink yourself down. How many of these rules did you consciously choose? And the answer is probably none. The interesting thing about rules is that we don't question them while we believe they're true. You don't question gravity. You don't question that the sun rises. And in exactly the same way, we stop questioning these beliefs because they simply become our normal. I remember catching myself saying, I'll relax after this week. I've got a really busy week. Oh, I'm going to relax after this week. And the next week became the next month. And then the next month became the next year. And one day I realized I wasn't waiting for permission from someone else. I was waiting for permission from a version of me that never existed because the finish line kept moving. So if these rules are invisible, where do they actually live? And why do they feel so automatic? And why can we know something logically and still react emotionally in the same way? This is where things get really interesting because psychology and neuroscience now give us a fascinating explanation for why these hidden rules can feel stronger than our conscious intentions. So let's have a look at what's actually happening inside the brain and the nervous system. So I think one of the biggest lies that we've been like accepted as adults is that rest has to be earned. Think about how often we say, I'm going to relax when this project is finished. I'll celebrate after I hit this goal. I'll book the holiday when work settles down. I'll spend more time with the kids once things calm down. Now, can I ask you something? When does it actually calm down? I asked myself and people this question for years, and almost no one says, oh, yes, everything's calm now. Like, that's just not it. If anything, people go, oh, it's more hectic than before. I didn't realize I could be this busy. No one goes, oh, yes, it's all calm now, and now I'm doing everything I wanted. The finish line just keeps moving. There's always another email, another goal, another milestone, another bill, another expectation. And suddenly we're living our whole lives postponing joy, almost like we're just saving it for later. And the problem is, later has no date in the calendar, right? So psychologists have found that many of us tie our worth to our productivity. We don't just like achieving, we start believing achievement is what makes us valuable. So when we stop, our nervous system doesn't interpret rest as rest. It interprets rest as danger. I have on multiple occasions found myself sitting on the couch, and within 5 minutes, I'm thinking, I should be doing something. I should answer those emails. I should fold that washing. I should be more productive. I shouldn't waste this time, which is oh so rare. Do you notice the language? Not I want to, I should. And whose voice is that anyway? Where did I learn that my worth depends on how useful I am? Because when I think of it logically, it's not mine. So where did it come from? Right? So let me introduce you to something that psychologists call the hedonic treadmill. Now, don't let the fancy name put you off. It's actually something very simple that every single one of us has experienced. So you imagine that you're running on a treadmill. You're moving, you're putting in effort, you're sweating, but you're never actually getting anywhere. That's essentially what happens when we believe our happiness lives in the next achievement. So here's what it looks like. You finally get the promotion. You're excited, you celebrate, maybe for a day, for a week, you're up here. It all feels amazing at first, for a month maybe, and then your brain adapts. That promotion simply just becomes your new normal. And suddenly you're thinking, I need another promotion. Or maybe I need to earn more money. Or maybe I need a bigger house. Or maybe then I'll finally feel successful. Have you ever noticed that? So if we look at the graph, the orange line is your normal level of happiness. Then something exciting happens up here. Maybe you buy your dream car, you meet someone amazing, your business might take off, you finally get pregnant, you buy your first home, your happiness just shoots up. And here's what's fascinating: your brain is incredibly adaptable. After a while, that incredible thing simply becomes normal. So your happiness slowly returns to your baseline. And then life throws something difficult at you. Maybe you lose your job, you have an argument, something unexpected happens, and your happiness drops below your baseline. But over time, you adapt again, and eventually you return. So the point isn't that achievement doesn't matter, they absolutely do. The point is, our brains weren't designed to stay excited forever, which means if we keep chasing happiness through external achievements, we'll always be moving to the finish line. Now, I wonder how many of us have spent our lives saying, I'll be happy when I lose the weight. I'll be happy when I earn six figures. I'll be happy when the kids are older. I'll be happy when I'm in a relationship. I'll be happy when I own a house. And what usually happens? Someone says, then it's the next thing. So I don't think the goal is to stop having goals. The goal is to stop postponing your joy until you reach them. Because if you can't enjoy today, there's a very good chance you won't enjoy tomorrow either. Tomorrow will simply become your new today. The human brain is incredible at adaptation, but terrible at appreciation. I'll say that one more time. The human brain is incredible at adaptation and terrible at appreciation. We adapt so quickly to what we prayed for that we stop appreciating what we once, like the fact that we once prayed for it. Seeking social validation. I think this is one of the biggest reasons people justify their joy because we're terrified of making people uncomfortable. Have you ever noticed how quickly you downplay good news? Someone says, you look amazing. And we reply and go, oh, this old thing, got it on sale, saved up ages for it. Think it is a nice color, yeah. Yeah. But it looks really good on you too. Congratulations on your promotion. I can't even you can't even take it. You're like, oh, I must now go all the way around and say something about them. Like, imagine if you could just receive that and sit in that and not feel the need to justify it, give it back to the other person to make it even, right? And so, say someone says, congratulations on your promotion. And you go, oh, I just got lucky. The other person left and they chose me because they left. So I just got lucky. We immediately explain things as if, like, to justify, we're still not doing so well. Because you don't want to be out here and go, oh my God, thank you so much. I tried so hard and it was so fun. And even if, what do you do? Like, what if you didn't even say tried so hard? Like, what if someone said, congratulations on your promotion? And you went, thank you so much. I really deserve it. And I'm really enjoying it, actually. It's really good. Like, that's so uncomfortable sometimes because we think humility means making ourselves smaller. Okay. But humility was never supposed to mean pretending that you're less than you are. Human beings evolved in tribes. And so thousands of years ago, belonging meant survival. If you were rejected from your tribe, you were vulnerable. And so your brain still carries that wiring today. So every time you're about to celebrate something, part of your brain asks, will people think I've changed? Will they think I'm arrogant? Will they judge me? Will they still like me? And even without realizing it, we shrink ourselves, not because we're humble, but because we're trying to stay connected. Fear of the other shoe dropping. This one is one of the biggest barriers to sustaining joy. How many of you have ever thought, if I enjoy this too much, something bad is going to happen? Or I don't want to jinx it. Or this feels too good to be true. Who resonates with that? So, research on defensive pessimism and our response to uncertainty suggests that some people unconsciously dampen positive emotions as a way of trying to protect themselves from future disappointment. It's almost as if we believe that if we don't get too excited now, it won't hurt as much when things fall apart, like when they fall apart. But that's not actually protection. It's anticipation. And anticipation steals today's joy because of tomorrow's fear. So if you grew up surrounded by chaos, conflict, financial instability, uncertainty, or constant stress, then it makes complete sense that a younger version of you learnt to stay on high alert. Your nervous system wasn't trying to ruin your happiness, it's trying to protect you. Because from its perspective, unpredictability became predictable. Stress became familiar. And if stressful experiences kept following moments of calm, your brain naturally begins to look for patterns. It starts believing good things don't last. Don't get too comfortable. Something bad is coming. That's not who you are. That's a protective strategy that your brain developed to keep you safe. Now, the beautiful thing is our brains are capable of change. So every time you allow yourself to fully receive a compliment, every time you celebrate a win without immediately minimizing it, every time you rest without apologizing, every time you experience joy without waiting for disaster, you're giving your brain new evidence. Evidence that peace can be safe, that happiness doesn't always need to be followed by heartbreak, that joy doesn't have to be temporary. Over time, those repeated experiences begin to reshape what feels familiar to us. So your nervous system slowly stops expecting suffering and starts trusting peace. And eventually, you stop justifying a joy, not because you've convinced yourself to think differently, but because you've shown your mind and your body again and again that joy is something you can safely hold. And when that happens, you stop living according to what you think everyone else might think. And you start living according to what you know is true for you. So we've spent the last 30 minutes or so understanding why this is happening. Your childhood, your nervous system, your need for belonging, the fear of disappointment. But here's what's fascinating. Most people don't even realize they're doing it. I didn't. I thought I was being humble. I thought I was just being grateful. I thought I was just being realistic, but I wasn't. I was constantly explaining my happiness. And once you start noticing it, you'll never unsee it. So let's say someone compliments you. Instead of thank you, you say, oh, this old thing, I just got lucky. It's just the good lighting. Oh, blame it on the lighting. Why was thank you so difficult? Right? You just want to question that and reflect on that. Like, why is thank you so difficult? You get a promotion or a pay rise or your business, and you explain all of it. I've worked so hard. It was just on sale. Oh, I've been saving. Nobody asked for that. Yet we presented evidence. No one asked for the evidence. And why do we do that? Because we wanted permission. So rest. Oh my gosh, justifying rest. I love this one. It's Sunday, okay? You're having your coffee, the sun is out, it's beautiful, and 5 minutes later you're like, I should be doing something. Where's that vacuum? Like, I should sweep. It's like we just, until we do that, then we'll sit down because that feels like we earned it, right? Guilty. Such a strong emotion to feel when you're stuck justifying your joy. It's amazing that we can feel guilty for doing absolutely nothing. What about relationships? Peace finally arrives. You meet that guy or that girl and they're perfect and they're unlike anyone you've met. Straight away, instead of enjoying it, you're like, everything's good. But something feels unfamiliar. Something about them will pop up As soon as I fall in love, I know it. When I first met my partner, bless his soul, he is perfect. And I'd come from previous experiences where I didn't trust that. It didn't feel safe. And so I had to say in the first few weeks of dating, just so you know, I'm going to question everything. And I was just so honest because it was true. And I was like, if you are who you say you are and this is consistent, there's going to be some triggers where I try to find what's wrong, and I just need you to keep showing up and making me feel safe in that and holding me in that. And he did, and it's beautiful. But it's so interesting. Immediately you're like, oh my God, the person I've been praying for has arrived. It's unfamiliar, it's unsafe. I don't trust it. It's so interesting. So I want you to notice something. Every single one of these examples has one thing in common. They all involve us trying to make ourselves feel more deserving. Almost like happiness needs a receipt because we're constantly trying to provide evidence for why we're allowed to experience something good. Now, joy doesn't actually ask you to prove yourself, conditioning does. So I want everyone to answer in the chat now, what's something you've explained that never actually needed an explanation? Could be a holiday, a promotion, your relationship. What is something that you've explained that never actually needed an explanation? How well things are going at work. Oh, yes. Especially if you've had a pattern of inconsistent, unhappy work, right? You can show up and be like, it becomes a part of your identity, right? Because you can, in conversations with everyone around you, family, friends, they're used to you mentioning that work's not going so well. And so when you start to finally express that, you can think, are they going to judge me or not give me so much love and care and support if I'm loving this so much? Like, does that minimize that? And it's such an automatic response because you're conditioned now to expressing that work sucks. And from that expression, you receive love and support. What if you show up and you go, everything's amazing? It is, I got this promotion. I'm loving it. I have so many friends there. Everyone's so supportive. You also don't want to lose the support and love from your people closest to you. So you go, "Oh my gosh, if I express this, what is the consequence of that?" Because this is my community, this is my tribe. That's a great one. Thank you, Sarah. Can't pick majority of everything I do. Well, that's great awareness too, Chanel. That's amazing because that's showing you the indicator of this is where you're at. And if it's a lot of things, that's where you're starting. This is the starting point because after this, we're going to jump into some beautiful reflection and observation of how to start claiming joy. And I really want you to take notice of the first few steps because it's a really beautiful point to be in awareness where you're like, okay, there's too many things going on. So we're just going to start that building that really small for you. Why I need some space from my partner. My partner doesn't like me to have me time, but I need some alone time to feel life. Can't be around her all the time. And that's beautiful. That's beautiful. And that's normally sometimes the other person's attachment style, right? They might have an anxious attachment and they are needing something from you that is, if they don't receive it, it's making them anxious, and that's why they cling on more. So my suggestion to you there would be to look into the love languages because, and maybe you already have, but because if you're giving love in the way she doesn't like to receive it, then they'll cling on more because they're not getting it. And often the way you love your partner is how you actually want to be loved. So if they're always giving you compliments and stuff, it might be because they want more compliments. And you'll find the more you tap into your partner's love language and give them love the way they want to receive it, they'll back off a bit because it just their cup is full and now they're like, yes, go. Like my partner loves to game. And it's Like, he loves it and he has fun doing it. And if he spends some quality time with me before we have a beautiful dinner and a lovely conversation, then I'm like, great, I'm grabbing my book, I'm getting my TV show on, you go hang out with the guys, because our cups are full and we've received love in the way we want it, and then we're happy to go and do that. So yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. People don't know what to say back to me when I do say things like that. Yes, that's because that's not the version of Sarah they know. They know the version that shows up and speaks like this. It's really interesting also when you start to step into your success, the people around you don't know what to do. They almost go mute. They can go quiet. And you can go, why isn't this person liking my story anymore? They used to love it when I used to be crying on my story. And now that I'm so happy on my story, no one gives a shit. Like, it's like, because you're not validating their experience. When you start to up level the people around you and outgrow your circle or achieve from a level that other people around you haven't experienced, there is this underlying, it can be curiosity, it can be jealousy, it can be um, judgment, because you're not on the same frequency anymore, right? And with the emotional scale, if you're experiencing more emotions up here and they're down here, you're not in alignment anymore. So you're not validating their circumstances either. So people don't know what to do. And then you do feel guilty for sharing, exactly. Because you're also then going to minimize it and go, "Oh, life's not as good for them, so I'll downplay it so that they feel better and I don't have to empathize with them." Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So let's look into that now and let's start talking about how we can claim some joy in our lives. So I want you to get your paper and pen out now and just write those things down, just so you have them, because I want you to be able to observe this later and compare it later. So write down, I feel guilty when. And even if you've put it in the chat, just take a photo of the chat so you have it. Or people might judge me if. And I'm just going to pop them in the chat now for you all. So I feel guilty when people might judge me if. Now, these will be some deeper answers. Success means, or rest means, and the last one is joy is. So I've got those in the chat for you now, and I'll just read them out one more time for those watching the recording. So we've got I feel guilty when people might judge me if. Success means, rest means, and joy is. And just remember too, there's no judgment in this exercise. We are simply becoming aware of what is underneath. Our subconscious beliefs, are the first step to awareness. So it's good to get these out on pen and paper, because up until now we've just been internalizing them. Beautiful. Lots of writing going on. And what we'll do later is we'll go through ways we're going to start claiming joy. And I want you to keep these pieces of paper with you to look back on when you start to embody this, because it'll be really interesting down the track, saying like a month or two, to look back and go, You know what? So much has changed in my belief and expression around joy. And now let's just look back at how I did believe and see the gap. That's a really beautiful thing is going, oh my God, I can't believe I used to think that. And now I think this, you know? Okay. So I want to ask you a question. What if there was never anything wrong with your ability to experience joy? What if the problem wasn't that you weren't grateful enough or positive enough or resilient enough? What if the only thing standing between you and a joyful life was a collection of beliefs that were never yours to begin with? I think somewhere along the way, we've confused joy with arrogance. We've confused rest with laziness. We've confused receiving with selfishness. We've even confused confidence with ego. And because of that, we're now experts at shrinking ourselves. But joy was never meant to be earned, it was meant to be experienced. So let's go through each statement I just said. Joy is perceived as arrogance. Arrogance says, I'm better than you. But joy simply says, I'm allowing myself to experience this moment. They're completely different. Joy is regulation. When your nervous system finally feels safe enough to stop scanning for danger, to stop waiting for disaster, to simply breathe, that is regulation. And joy often follows. Joy is presence. Have you never noticed that you can't truly experience joy while worrying about tomorrow? Joy only exists here, in this moment, not in next week, not after you've achieved more, not after you've proved yourself. Joy is gratitude. It's not a performative gratitude, not gratitude because someone told you to be grateful, real gratitude. The kind that quietly notices, I actually like my life today, without needing to add, but I don't want to jinx it. Joy is nervous system safety. I think this is one of the biggest I want you to leave with today. It's not just an emotion. Joy is a signal. It's your body saying, from this moment, I'm safe. And that might sound simple, but for someone who's lived in survival mode, that can be one of the bravest experiences imaginable. Joy is permission. And here's the interesting part, nobody can actually give you that permission. Not your parents, not your boss, not your partner, not me. Because even if I stood here and said, I officially give you permission to enjoy your life, it wouldn't matter unless you believed it yourself. And the beautiful thing is, research in positive psychology has found that cultivating positive emotions can broaden our attention, improve creativity, strengthen relationships, and build resilience over time. Joy isn't frivolous, it has measurable benefits for mental and physical well being. It actually takes courage to stay open to joy because joy requires vulnerability. It is easier to expect disappointment, and it is harder to believe that life can be good. And maybe this is the part that surprised me the most, joy actually requires courage, a huge amount of courage, because disappointment feels familiar. Our brain naturally wants to hold on to that. Expecting things to go wrong feels familiar. Staying guarded feels familiar. But opening your heart, believing life can be good, and allowing yourself to receive what's already here, that is vulnerable. It is much easier to expect disappointment than it is to trust happiness. The bravest people aren't the ones who survive suffering, they're the ones who stop expecting it. So, I'd love to finish this part of our time together with something a little different because information can change the way you think. but experience changes the way you feel. So we've talked a lot about joy, and now I'd like you to experience it. Not the excitement of achieving something, not the adrenaline of reaching another goal, just the quiet feeling of no longer needing to earn your own life. So, if you are somewhere comfortable, I would invite you to sit back, have a quick stretch, and we're going to close down our eyes and just relax into this moment. And when your eyes are closed, start to take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. And again, in through your nose and out through your mouth. Just allow your shoulders to soften. Relax your jaw. Unclench your hands. There's nowhere to be for the next few moments. Nothing you need to prove. Nothing you need to solve. Just breathe. Now, I want you to imagine that it's an ordinary Tuesday. Not your dream holiday. Not winning the lottery. Not even achieving the biggest goal of your life. Just an ordinary Tuesday. You wake up naturally. The light filters through the window. You make yourself a cup of coffee or tea. Sit quietly for a moment, and something feels different. Not outside of you, inside of you. There isn't that familiar rush. There isn't the voice telling you you're already behind. There isn't the pressure to earn your rest before you've even started your day. There's simply space. You move through your morning feeling present. You notice the warmth of your coffee, the air on your skin, the sound of the birds outside. You smile. Not because something extraordinary has happened, but because your nervous system finally feels safe enough to notice the ordinary. As the day unfolds, good things happen. Someone compliments you. You simply smile and say, "Thank you." A moment of peace arrives. You don't question it. You don't wait for it to disappear. You don't wonder what will go wrong next. You simply let yourself have it. Now notice how that feels. Just notice. That's it. Notice what your body feels like when you're no longer arguing with joy. No guilt, no proving, no shrinking yourself, no explaining why you deserve this. Just be. Now, I want you to imagine meeting the version of you who lives this way every day. They look peaceful, grounded, open. Not because their life is perfect, but because they've stopped believing that they have to earn permission to enjoy it. They smile at you and they say, "You can stop carrying that now. Whatever you've been holding, the pressure, the guilt, the fear, the constant need to justify your happiness, you don't have to carry it anymore." Take one more slow breath in. And as you exhale, imagine leaving those old rules behind. Each time you exhale, notice how those old beliefs detach from your body and slowly fall to the ground. And once those old rules fall to the ground, they go through the ground and disintegrate into the core of the earth. Now, when you're ready, take another big breath in and out. Gently bring your awareness back to the room. Slowly start to open your eyes. And just pop into the chat 1 or 2 words about how you're feeling now. Peaceful and golden light. Beautiful. So I want you to remember that joy was never something you had to earn. It's something you simply forgot you were allowed to keep. So for the next week, I have a challenge for you all. You can take a photo of this one so that you can remember. The first one is I want you to receive one compliment without explaining it. So the next time someone says, "You look amazing, great job, I'm proud of you," just simply respond with, "Thank you." Nothing else. No justification, no downplaying, no self-deprecation. And if you notice how uncomfortable it feels in the moment, that's just your conditioning speaking, not the truth. The second one is I want you to celebrate before the finish line. So instead of waiting until you've completed everything, which we never do anyway, just celebrate one small win this week. Maybe you finished a workout, or you had a difficult conversation, or you sent a proposal to someone, or cooked a healthy meal, or rested when you needed it. And ask yourself, if I celebrated this today instead of waiting for the next milestone, what would that feel like? The next one is catching yourself justifying joy. So throughout the week, notice how often you say things like, "It wasn't a big deal, it was on sale, I probably shouldn't, I haven't really earned it." And every time you catch yourself, ask, what am I trying to prove right now? Because awareness is the first step to change. The next one is give yourself 1 hour with nothing to earn. So choose an hour this week where you have no productivity, no multitasking, no guilt. Go for a walk, read a book, sit in the sun, dance in the kitchen, have coffee with a friend. And every time your brain says you should be doing something, reply with, "My worth isn't measured by my productivity." My worth isn't measured by my productivity. And the last one is ask yourself this question every morning. Before you pick up your phone, before the emails, before the to-do list, ask yourself, if I didn't have to earn joy today, what would I allow myself to enjoy? If I didn't have to earn joy today, what would I allow myself to enjoy? Maybe it's watching the sunrise, playing with your kids, wearing a nice outfit, buying some flowers, laughing louder, saying yes, saying no, and then actually do one of those things. I don't want you to leave today trying to become a happier person. I want you to leave becoming a person who no longer argues with happiness when it arrives. Because joy isn't something that you find, it's something that you stop postponing, you stop shrinking, you stop apologizing for, and eventually you simply allow. So, for the next 7 days, every time something good happens, you're not allowed to explain why you deserve it. Okay? And if at the end of the week, I'd love for you to reach out and let me know how you went with the challenge, if you want to. So, how are we all feeling? I hope today's conversation, there we go, has given you more information, like more than information. I hope it's given you permission to stop apologizing for your happiness, right? Permission to stop explaining every beautiful thing that happens in your life. Okay. And over the next 5 days or 7 days, I really encourage you to commit to this challenge. Not because 5 or 7 days will completely change your life, but because these days will begin giving your brain and nervous system new evidence. Evidence that joy is safe, evidence that peace doesn't always have to be followed by pain, evidence that you don't need permission to receive the life you're living. But, I also know something else is that awareness is the first step, but it's not the whole journey. Knowing why you justify joy doesn't automatically stop you from doing it. Because transformation doesn't happen through one conversation, it happens through repeated experiences. So take what you've learned from this and apply it consistently. And that's where the transformation is going to start. And, when you practice ideas over and over, they stop being something that you know and they start being something that you are. Because understanding something intellectually and experiencing it are two very different things. Now, for some of you, I know that you're already coming to this, but I'm going to share it for the people who are watching that haven't heard about this. Now, to experience it more in a room is something we're really encouraging at the moment because we are about to run our first Ascend Summit. Now, this is in August on the 8th and 9th, and the Ascend Summit isn't just an event, it's an experience. It's a space where you can step away from the demands, distractions, and expectations of everyday life and spend 2 full days focused on you. So, over 2 transformational days will guide you through the same powerful framework, looking at the past, the present, and the future, helping you understand what shaped you, reconnect you with who you are, and get a clearer vision of what's next. But perhaps the most powerful part isn't what happens on stage, it's really what happens in the room. Being surrounded by people asking similar questions, people navigating similar challenges, people choosing to grow. There's something incredibly powerful about realizing that you're not alone. And there's something even more powerful about witnessing what's possible when you finally give yourself permission to step fully into your life. So if you've enjoyed this webinar, this summit is the perfect next step. If you're feeling called to go deeper, we would absolutely love to have you there because you don't need another opinion. You need the space to hear your own voice. So this is not another seminar or another motivational weekend. It is a transformational experience designed to help you understand the patterns that have shaped you, reconnect you with who you are, and begin creating a future that's intentionally designed rather than accidentally repeated. So this morning we've only scratched the surface, but we are going to spend 2 full days doing the work. Now, our mission is simple: to help people stop living from conditioning and start living from choice. To create a space where people feel safe enough to be honest with themselves, supported enough to explore what needs to change, and empowered enough to actually do something about it. Because awareness is powerful, don't get me wrong, but awareness without action changes nothing. So you've heard all about myself, and the other two founders of the Ascendancy Collective are Sarah Jane. For me personally, Sarah Jane is the mentor who showed me how much action I can take in a short period of time. It absolutely blew me away. I have worked closely with her firsthand and experienced the benefits of her driven work to contribute to who I am today. One of my favorite things that Sarah Jane has made me realize is how simple making a big decision in life can be. Our other co founder is Karina. Now, Karina is one of those people that you instantly click with. Her energy radiates and her presence is felt deeply. The things that she has moved through and overcome in this life are beyond inspiring, and to be able to hear her story is unlike anything I've heard before. She is a walking example of resilience. Now, we do like to keep a lot of our content top secret, right? But what I can tell you is that every session has been intentionally designed. Every exercise has a specific purpose. Every conversation builds on the one before it. You'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll be challenged, you'll gain clarity, and you'll leave the room different from how you arrived. So some surprises are worth keeping. And what we're offering isn't just 2 days in a room, it's an experience. You'll be guided by all three of us throughout the weekend. You'll receive the workbooks, the tools, the resources, and integration to support you continuing to apply what you've already learned after the event ends. Because our goal isn't for you to just feel motivated, it's for you to leave a changed person. And so when people ask us what they'll get from it, the answer is quite simple. You'll get clarity about what's keeping you stuck, about who you are, about what needs to change. You'll live with practical tools, not theories, not inspiration, tools that you can use when life gets hard. You'll leave with a different relationship to fear, a different relationship to your emotions, and most importantly, a different relationship with yourself. Because our intention isn't that you leave with a good feeling, it's that you leave with a good direction. Now, the venue for this event specifically is in Brisbane. It's at Newstead Studios and it is gorgeous. I am so excited. When I saw the pictures of this venue, I was just blown away. I cannot wait to run the summit in this venue. It's nice and close to all sorts of restaurants and cafes and everything that you'll need. And it is just going to be the most beautiful place. We just locked in some extra goodies and photographers and all that fun stuff. So I can't wait. Now, this is some of the feedback from our previous attendees of some of our events with the Ascendancy Collective. As you can see, being online is awesome, but being in person is just that next level up. So on the screen now, you'll see the QR code. And if you've been sitting here today thinking, I need more of this, then this invitation is for you. Ascend Summit is happening on the dates on the screen, and the tickets are already selling. And we are incredibly excited about the people who are saying yes to this experience. And as a thank you for being part of this event, we've created a special discount code that will give you 10% off your ticket. So the QR code is on screen now. Take a photo, open it now. If you have any questions, put them in the chat. But also, save this and send it to any friends and family you think will benefit or you might want to go with as well. And lastly, I just want to thank all of you for being here today, for your openness, your willingness to participate, and investing this time for yourself. One of the things we're most passionate about is creating spaces where these conversations don't just end when the event does. So if you've enjoyed today, we'd love for you to join us on the Ascendancy Collective community on School. It is a place to stay connected with us, continue learning, share your insights, celebrate your wins, and just surround yourself with people who are committed to growth, committed to purpose and creating a life like by design rather than by default. So before we finish today, I just want to thank you for being here. Thank you for being open and honest and exploring some of the parts of yourself that are much easier to avoid. It's going to create a ripple effect, not in just the rest of your day, but in the week as you do the challenge, the joy challenge. And I can't wait to hear about the progress with that. But yeah, again, thank you for showing up for yourself. And I'll just quickly check the chat now. I feel very light, gave myself permission to enjoy the day. Beautiful, fresher. Yes. And yes, Sarah, you're already coming and prints to the Ascend Summit. So we're very excited to see you both there. And yeah, enjoy your day, everyone. Go out, absorb this information, and just continue to shine the light that's already within, that's just waiting for you to give it permission to be there, you know? Thank you again from my heart to yours. Have a beautiful day, everybody, and I'll see you next time.